Welcome, beautiful people. It's your host, Demasha K. Y'all know I usually don't do shows on Saturdays, but I have a special edition. I have two great gentlemen, powerful gentlemen, motivating gentlemen, two gentlemen that have been somewhere in life, and they are doing an event tomorrow. And so I get them up here so they can talk about the event, amongst other things. They're going to talk about. But definitely, if there's still space, because if y'all did not see the flyer that I posted the other day in my story, then y'all gonna miss out. Okay, y'all really gonna miss out on something great. But there are some great things that are happening in the community. But I'm not gonna tell all their business because y'all know I don't like to tell business. But make sure y'all tap into 101.5 Philly Vibe every Tuesday at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. 101.5 Philly Vibe every Tuesday, where you will find my show, amongst other places, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere else. Make sure you tap in. And don't forget your girl, just send me a shout out or share my stuff. I appreciate everybody who does share my show. I appreciate everybody that listens into the show on a regular basis. And I appreciate y'all wonderful feedback. But y'all know I could talk for an hour to myself, so I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to talk to people. And I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to bring Mr. Eugene Brown and Dr. Warren Crabb up right now. Hey, gentlemen, how y'all doing?
I'm good.
Doing well, thank you.
Good afternoon, my queen. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Y'all know I'm bubbly anyway, so yeah. So y'all just don't have to be as bubbly as me, but I'm always like, Anyway,
I'll try.
It's a Saturday. Y'all looking nice. I like them hats. Y'all looking real good. Gentlemen,
Okay.
tell me what does... Oh, no, I want y'all to introduce yourself, though. I forget. Y'all see me. Introduce yourself to the people.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yes, I'm Eugene Brown, also known as the Chess Man.
And I'm Dr. Warren Crabb. I am the founder of EXCMF Matter Foundation.
Wonderful. And so we'll get into what that means, people, as we go on. But my first question for you all, because I know you're doing this event, right? And sometimes people don't really know how powerful these events are or what they mean. What does the second chance really mean to you all beyond that phrase, second chance?
Well, beyond the phrase second chance, which to me, it begins with the second chance after incarceration. That's what National Second Chance Month is about. It's about giving people who are formerly incarcerated a second chance at life, so they become productive members of society. So second chances for me, because I was homeless, I was downtrodden, I was on crack, I was shooting drugs, I was drinking alcohol, I was doing everything under the sun except for living. So I was in a constant state of death. So for me to get resurrected and have a second chance at life, and since then been blessed with a beautiful family, a career, I can't say enough about second chances.
Right.
And, my story is so similar because, I went through almost 30 some odd years of in and out of prison, drugs and alcohol. And, just to be able to, I started a program in DC public schools and a chess program. We won 5-year city champion and they wanted to pay me. I was doing it on a volunteer basis.
Right.
So when they sent me downtown, I had already signed that I never had been convicted. And so when they really wanted to pay me, I had to go down to town to do a fingerprints and do a background check. And after they found out that I had been incarcerated several times, for bank robbery, and they immediately escorted me out. So the second chance was, at that time I was selling real estate. I went and purchased a house and called it the Chess House. And some of the students that I formerly had in grade school, they were members of the Chess House. So I was able to resurrect myself, even though I was put out of public school. And whatever happened, it came to me just to the point of never give up, never give up, you know. So that's this, and I've had so many chances. So you know, it's just something that they have coined here lately. But you know, if I just go back and tell you about all the chances that I had,
Right. Wow, I think that's big for both of you. I guess for for Dr. Crabb, I kind of know Dr. Crabb's story because I know him and his wife in a personal way. So I kind of know his story, and I think that his story is amazing. And what you just said was amazing too. Just giving other people a second chance is powerful. And I think the both of you are. I thank the both of you for doing that. Mr. Eugene, your story inspired Life of a King. When you look back, what was the moment that made you decide to change your life?
well, I went through a 12-step program,
Mhm.
and that was the procuring cause of me really, really coming to grips with drugs and alcohol. And even going in and out of prison, they had 12-step program there, and I never would participate until finally, uh, probably on my last tour in prison. When I came out, I was doing relatively good, and a friend of mine, when I saw him, I asked him, I said, "How long you been out, man?" Because he was glowing. So he said, "Man, I haven't did no time since in the last 7, 8 years." I said, "Well, what you up to?" He said, "Man, I'm going to a 12-step program." He said, "It's really helping me." He said, "And my advice to you is, for you to join the fellowship." So I said, "Oh man, I'm good." So I was cutting hair in the barber shop because that was my high school trade. I'm a master barber. And one day he came in, and I had just went on a binge, and it was just like he just showed up out of nowhere. And he said, "Man, what's going on with you?" And I took him in the back of the shop and told him, what had happened that night before. And he took me to a 12-step meeting. And one of the things that happened is it was some people, I was just listening to people share. And the very guy that I had a problem listening to was a real guy that really was the one that really the message really took.
Right.
So and I had a guy that used to tell me, he said, "Well, you know, that's his story. Why are you having a problem listening to his story?" You know, he has a right to explain. He said, your problem is the fact that you don't have enough patience and tolerance just to hear somebody else's story. You have to learn how to listen. So that was really what kind of changed me. The fact that I saw that I could live life drug and alcohol free. So
That's
that's when everything opened because I had potentials. I know I always had potentials. Every time I would come in and out, I would always succeed,
mhm.
but I would end up sabotaging my success every time.
I think that's something powerful that you said is that you would end up sabotaging your success. I know that there are a lot of people who come out of prison, and then when they come out, because the system is not designed for them to succeed, they do end up doing that, sabotaging their success. Because like going to a 12-step program is like, I don't have time for that. I got to get some money. I got to get myself together. I got to try to get back, to where I was. What would be your advice? What would be either one of you advice for someone who says like, hey, I can't go to a 12-step program, or there's nothing I can do? What would be your advice so they don't sabotage their success?
You know, I'll tell you one of the most difficult things that a ex-offender, ex-con, or a guy coming home from prison, and for him to be in a situation where he might be homeless, might be living in a shelter, and in between this time, he knows how to make money, and he knows some people that he may be able to call,
Right.
to really get himself back. But the most difficult decision is whether or not I'm going to go ahead and go that way, or whether or not I'm gonna stick it out.
Mm.
And I tell you, that is a strong decision for a guy that may have been successful and having everything taken away from him and find himself in that position, sitting on that park bench, having to go back to a shelter every night, and knowing that he can make one phone call and everything will change for him. That is the most difficult decision. So I think having an idealistic concept of knowing that this is what I might have to go through to get what I want. So being able to have, and I call it the end game because I play, in chess, I call that the end game. Can you envision your end game before in your opening? Because you're in your opening knowing that you can really come back to the streets. That's the opening game.
Absolutely.
Can you make it to the middle game? And can you make it to the end game? Those are three questions that, that are going to confront anybody that's coming home that don't have any structure, don't have a family, don't have, where he has to really do it himself.
Right.
Those are three,
I know.
What do I want to do, what I want to be, and what I want to have? Those are three questions that has to be answered.
And I know for me, it was the question of, because when I went to my 12-step program, they told me the only thing I had to change was everything. I mean, I had to come out of my comfort zone.
Right.
I had to become somebody completely different than what I was comfortable being. And like he was saying, I always knew the things that was out there in the streets for me were out there for me still waiting on me to this day. And so is 3 Hots in the Cot.
Right.
So, no, they got 3 Hots in the Cot for you, but my name written on the bed, just waiting for me to come back. I haven't been back now in 13 years, but when you first get out, you have those decisions to make. You have to change everything, your environment, the people that you deal with, everything. And most of all, change your way of thinking. For me, personally, I turned myself over to a higher power greater than me and decided to become a servant more than trying to run stuff, and that's what worked for me. It might not work for other people, but it worked darn good for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Crabb, what inspired you to create Ex-Cons Matter Foundation, and what gap did you see in the system that made you create this?
When I first got out of prison, I was determined not to go back to prison, so I became a workaholic. There wasn't a week that went by I didn't work at least 40 hours, if not more.
Right.
When I started my career selling health insurance, I started making pretty good money. So I wanted to move my family into a decent living quarters. But every time I went to a homeowners association, they said, no, you can't live here because you're an ex-convict. You can't live here because you're an ex-convict.
Right.
And even when I tried to get better jobs, they said, you can't work here because you're an ex-convict. Hold on, man. I just did 8.5 years on 10-year sentence. Didn't I pay my debts to society? Don't I have the right to live and work and take care of my family like everybody else do? They act like I don't matter just because I'm an ex-cons. But guess what? Ex-cons matter. And I took off from there. From Ex-Cons Matter, that became my movement, and Ex-Cons Living in the World Today became my organization. Recently, I had a bout with cancer, and I had to take what I call a strategic retreat for about 6 months to a year or something like that.
Right.
Where I had to retreat from television, radio, all the things that I was doing and being successful at, so I could take care of my health.
Right.
When I came back with the new organization, a nonprofit called Ex-Cons Matter Foundation. And all these wonderful things we're doing, like having Mr. Eugene here today with Ex-Cons Matter Foundation, the event tomorrow, which we'll talk about in the second, I presume, and all the wonderful things that's happening in my life, through Ex-Cons Matter Foundation, including, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Dun, dun, dun. A 12-step program specifically designed for formerly incarcerated people.
Right.
Ex-cons matters meetings. Can you see that?
Right.
It's called
I
Ex-cons matters meetings.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for you that like you got that. Because I remember when you were at the bottom trying to work it up and you're like, okay, Queen, like we gonna need your help with this. Okay, I got this going on. And I'm like, people really moving. I said they're really moving. So to hear that you are in that space, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you to keep continuously going. And that ex-cons matter. My target audience are people who like who've been through things. That's my target audience. And so especially when it comes to males, because a lot of our males, they end up in prison for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? But
because it's designed that way.
Absolutely.
It's a business.
Absolutely. And so I like to help them provide those resources when they come home, of how to get back into mainstream and helping them change their mindset and seeing the world in a different space. Mr. Eugene, what role did mentorship play in your transformation, and why is it so critical for when you return into the citizenship, like when you're returning out of prison into the regular world?
Well, that goes back having a template, having an example of someone that has made it. Then they have an old story that is a parable where this king had a son, had a young son, and his son, was real active, and the king loved him, and he used to play in the courtyard. So what happened was his son had a hunchback. So the king had a statue made to look exactly like him and had it right in the middle of the courtyard. And the kid loved the statue, and he played with it, and he looked at it, and he admired it so much that he ended up looking just like the statue. The hump came out of his back.
Oh my goodness.
Because he had an image to live up to. So that's what a mentorship is, and it don't have to be a personal, someone that you actually know. It could be someone that you read about. It could be someone that you see on social media that you want to emulate. And, even, the Christian, just to say that they have the Christ consciousness, So we look at the imagination. If there's no end to it, then you can imagine yourself, and that's a job that a person has to do himself, to have an imagination of having. If everybody say, well, the Creator wants the best for you,
right,
and that's undeniable. People say, God wants the best for you. He wants you to have the best. So if he was just to step up and say, all right, Gene, what would your best self look like? And you can't even answer. Right. So that's doing the work. You're gonna have to do some work from that shadow place to be able to start answering those questions ahead of time. Absolutely. So you find a lot of people just like they go down and win a lottery ticket. They got $1 million and they don't have $1 million mindset.
Right.
That money goes. So it's always having, what do I want to be? And you got to have an example of what do you want to be. Then you have what I want to have, what I want to have in life, and what I want to do. So it keeps coming back to it. And a lot of times you don't have an idealistic concept of those questions. You just wondering generality. You just wandering around.
I think that's an important thing that you said. You got to have that mindset. I'm all into mindset because that's what I teach all the time, is changing your mindset. You change your mindset, you change your world. So I think that is very important to have that mindset. You can't have $1 million if you don't have $1 million mindset.
Is it?
no way it's going to work for you because you're going to burn through that money. You know, like you don't know how to set that up for yourself. So I appreciate you speaking on the importance of mentorship and the importance of having the correct mindset. Dr. Crabb, the XCOMS Matter meetings are 12-step program led. How different is this from traditional support systems?
In this kind of matter meeting, and like other 12-step programs, we had the 12 traditions, the 12 steps, and the 12 promises. We call them the 12 vows, the 12 steps, and 12 traditions. It's formulated almost exactly like it, except for it's not concentrated on drugs and alcohol. It's concentrated on the mentality of coming back into society, having a safe space to share your problems and your woes to people that may. Because no offense, if you've never been locked up, we consider you as a civilian. Just like if you've never been in the military, you're considered a civilian. So, you know, it's just certain things that people who've been formerly incarcerated can't talk to you about because you wouldn't understand it. So we provide a safe space for people to get things like that off their chest, get advice, get mentors, mentor other people, and grow and share and love and learn. So that's what our 12-step program provides. That's different. Not so much different because the AA and NA, they provide the same things.
Right.
They do, because I've been through them. All right. But the only thing we're not concerned about your drug and alcohol. We're concerned about your mentality.
Absolutely.
Because if your mentality right, you ain't got to worry about the drugs and alcohol anyway.
Absolutely. And this is a question for both of you all. What is important for the community, not just the individual, to be? Why is it important for the community, not just the individual, to be involved in the second chance?
Let's break it down all the way down. I'm going to use real stats, real statistics. I'm not making this up. I promise you I can't make it up. 1/3 of the population of the United States of America has been arrested at least once in their lifetime. 1/3 of the population of America will be arrested at least once in their lifetime. That means that 1/3 of the households in America are affected by incarceration. If a father or a mother or a child get arrested, it disturbs the entire ecosystem of a household. So it's not only one person that's being affected. If there's a mother and a father, that's 3 people that's being affected. If there's siblings, that's more people that's being affected. So it's very important that second chances be looked at as for what it is. It's a chance to gain your life back without the ecosystem tearing your family apart, tearing your household and your life apart. You know? So it's important that the community get involved because the community is involved and don't know it.
Absolutely.
If it's 600 million people in the United States of America, 200 million people are walking around ex-convicts.
Absolutely.
That's something to think about. That's more people than got HIV. That's more people than got coronavirus. That's more people than got. We have more people incarcerated than China.
Talk about it.
Right, and China got 5 times the population that we have. So it tells you that something is wrong with the system, something is broken. But the point is, the community has to become involved in order to help people to keep the community safe. Because if we don't do that, then the people who are formerly incarcerated reverts back to the same things that they did in the first place that got them incarcerated, which is stealing, drug dealing, robbing, killing, blah, 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 blah. And then this can go on and on and on because they got a charge for blinking your eyes the wrong way in some states.
Right. You're right.
That's my answer. The community has to be involved. It's a responsibility. We're not only responsible for what goes on under our own household, under our own rooftops, but we're also responsible for what goes on our block where our children are playing at. We're responsible for the neighborhood where our children are playing at, and the mentality of the neighborhood has to be on the same mentality to keep our children safe.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's about.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
I got you. Mr. Brown, did you want to comment to that as well?
Well, the narrative that they present to ex-offender or crime, a lot of people already have an ideal of what a criminal is. Mm-hmm. And even when he returns, they still have that standoffish approach because it's been pumped to them. It's been illustrated to them that he committed a crime and he needed to pay for his crime. Criminals are negative. Just when you hear criminals, there is a negative connotation that automatically comes up to the average person in the community. So I think having a paradigm shift of that narrative to being understand, just like Dr. Crabb said, by so many people being affected by it. One of the things that I watch, and I'm 79. I've seen all the way from the civil rights movement. I've seen how they genetically engineer a lot of things to make it acceptable. Once something becomes acceptable, it becomes presentable. Mm. So just like we'll take fruit, for instance, and our young kids are our fruit. But we'll take fruit, and when you start looking at a fruit, now all of a sudden there's no seeds in it.
Right.
So if there's no seeds in the fruit, what happened to the seeds? They genetically engineered the seeds out of fruit. Right. So this is what they're actually doing to our community. They're genetically engineering the positivity out of what could be and what would be if we would not adhere to that narrative that they present to us, in the newspaper, television, and just like they made a motion picture about me in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. You know who get all the views? Rayford Evans. I mean, I'm talking about drug kingpins. Mm-hmm. They got a thing where they got DC blacks. They on YouTube. I mean, and they talk about the devastation, and they interview. They got millions and millions of views. But this is just like when they have a drug bust. They present a line of all the stuff that they got, all the guns, all the drugs, and people be watching TV. They say, young guys be watching TV and say, "Man, that's how I want my thing to be." Mm-hmm. So it's a program. It's a program that's almost hypnotic. So when a guy come back into the community knowing that he's been away, it's just he really need to be a facilitator to the other people in the community of not look. And even when I go out to speak, I tell people all the time, I don't glorify my prison experience.
Right.
You got a lot of guys. I mean, just when you come home from prison and some of the best time they've had has been when they was in prison.
Right.
And young guys hear this. This is why they almost think now that this is almost the rite of passage. To be a man, to be identified as a man. They have to go back, they have to go through prison. I tell you, a lot of them don't come out the way that they went in.
Absolutely.
So, but my in the community, and if you don't, if someone has to set an example, someone has to start community meeting, community awareness, because it's so much ignorance in the community, especially in our community, because we just don't deal with the culture, our culture. There's a subculture in our community,
right?
One that's underneath of that, and if no one is there to really express and explain what that subculture is about, they'll never understand. How are you going to rehabilitate a kid and you give them a rehabilitation program, right? And the judge say before sentencing, the judge will say, son, we've given you every type of rehabilitation program there is. We gave you YKT. We gave you X4 community. We gave you, you've been on and off. We've given you every rehabilitation program. We have no other alternative but to sentence you to 20 years. But the question is, where was the habilitating program?
Thank
See,
you.
the re is just a prefix.
Right.
How you gonna rehabilitate a kid?
It's never been.
Let's replay it. You and I, let's replay that game that we played before. Let's replay that chess game. The first thing we said, we never played one before. So the re is a prefix. How can you be a doctor? How can you be a judge? How can you be and semantically don't know that this kid has never been habilitated? You can, and the first thing they do is look on your record. They can see the environment that you came from.
Absolutely.
So where are the habilitating programs?
Right. And there are none. There are none. You gentlemen have really dropped some gems. I've written down stuff that y'all saying, like phrases that y'all are using, and I think that it's important. I think this is important for a lot of people to hear, because there are no rehabilitating programs, because they look at the background of these children or young people or men or whoever. They look at the background and they don't try to heal that part first. You can't go forward until you go back, and you have to go back and you have to fix the things that need to be fixed in order is the reason why you got to that future that you got to. But I like something that you said, and I like that you talked about the reprogramming. So if you put something out there so many times, then people no longer question it because it becomes the norm, because it becomes accepted, And I think in our community, I don't even think people realize when the seeds disappear. And that's just an example. So I don't think that they realize when things are put into our communities and then they become acceptable, because it happens so fast. Like you said, it's like being up under a spell. It's hypnotic.
Also take away from our communities without us being aware of it. The things that makes us strong and gives us strength, like soul music,
right?
Or a volunteer, that's a man who sings a love song. Those things don't exist anymore. They took all of that away because they were teaching young men how to approach women, how to treat women, how to treat them with respect and dignity. So they took all that away and replaced it with B's and H's, and then that became the norm. It became normal to hear that. And us older folks, that's a shame, child. That's a shame. That's all we could do.
Right. I miss, I really miss the having my grandmother and my great grandmother. And I know some children, they don't get that opportunity. My kids get the opportunity, but I miss the conversations that the older community would have with the younger community. I miss the respect too, because there were just certain things that your parents didn't do in front of you. And there are definitely certain things as you became an adult that you didn't do in front of your parent, which is long and forgotten. And like you said, the music is a big thing. And I don't think people understand how powerful music is and how it transitions your mind, into thinking. I was just telling somebody the other day, like, I am so tired of seeing people like half naked, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, why we got to be, everybody know that, like,
it didn't run out yet. When is it gonna run out?
Right. It's like men wearing sweatpants. Now the ladies on the men with the sweatpants. Yeah. We already know that African American women, we have butt, we know we have butt. We can't help it. But we got to see it all the time. Like, it's cool, So I don't know. I mean, I appreciate this conversation with you all because you do have a lot of knowledge that I don't have. And 79, you look amazing to be 79. When I get 79, I want to look like that. So I'm thinking you're going to say you about 60, maybe 50. You said 79. I was like, what? So you look nice.
I grow up, I'm going to be just like that.
Right. Absolutely.
And you know, it's so important, when you start really uh, looking at our culture, and when you start looking at and getting back to the subject, getting back to the 13th Amendment itself, you
Mm,
know, and they said that slavery should be abolished except having been convicted of a felony, and then they convict you of a felony, and all of these nicknames that they give themselves, returning citizens, previously incarcerated, and and if you just want to be a law-abiding citizen,
Mm.
I had preached to the choir. I said, just call me an ex-slave,
Hmm.
because legally that's what you stand. That's how you were able to have me working for pennies,
Hmm.
right, right,
and have it a law where I couldn't even, like, hey, you here and you lost all your rights, and according to the Constitution, you enslaved. And
right.
a lot of people don't want to really accept that terminology.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think, once they really start embellishing the fact that, hey, I'm here as a slave, that should be a wake up. That should be a real wake up. And on the way out, since you enslaved me, uh, is there what is that? Reparation?
Reparations, yes.
Can I? Can we? I mean, what if all of the second chance inmates say, since you enslaved us, how about that reparation plan?
Right. That's our
Absolutely.
40 acres in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, but it will be that much of a wake up. It would be just that much of a turnaround.
Right.
Just the fact that.
This is exactly why we have an petition out to end slavery. All
Mm,
right. We're looking for 10,000 people to sign the petition to end slavery. Um, we're going to update the 13th Amendment because it's over 265 years old.
talk about it.
Population was 410, and the rest were slaves.
Absolutely.
So it's a little different now with 600 million people in the country.
It's a
That
lot.
needs to be updated. You
Right.
know? So we're really working hard on that. Anybody can go to the petition. Just go to my social media. Look me up, Warren Crabb. Go to my social media, and you can find the petition there at all times.
Absolutely. Like I said, y'all gentlemen have really been dropping some gems. And you all have something happening tomorrow. Something big is happening tomorrow. So what's going on at the Enoch Davis Center tomorrow?
At the Enoch Davis Center, that's 1111. What is it? 1111, 18th Avenue South in St. Petersburg, Florida. This is
Right.
going to be in the auditorium. We're going to have a movie screening. It's called Dinner and a Movie.
Right.
We're having a movie screening of the movie that was made about this young man right here,
Right.
Mr. Eugene Brown. It's called Life of a King, with Academy Award winner Cuba Gooding Jr. portraying this guy. This is who
Wonderful.
he's portraying in the movie. And we're so proud to have him here for the movie screening. So afterwards, he can give us a keynote speech, answer some questions from the audience. You can get some autographed books of his novel. Pass me one of those real quick, please. You can get an autographed copy of his novel, From Pawns to King. This is by Mr. Eugene Brown. This is going to be available tomorrow. This is an awesome, 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 awesome book. It's by him and his son Marco. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is an awesome book. We're going to make sure that that's on the premises. Dinner in the movie. It's not a snack in a movie. Let's get this clear. I didn't say a snack in a movie. I said dinner in a movie. I'm talking about smothered chicken, rice pilaf, greens, cornbread, black eyed peas. We have chocolate cake for dessert. Uh, just get there. It's absolutely free at the Enoch P. Davis Center. Absolutely free. Start doors open at 5 p.m. tomorrow. That's
Okay.
Sunday the 12th, 5 p.m.
And going back over the conversation, the book basically is about intergenerational incarceration. what often occurs in the subculture. And the reason why I bring that point out is because I myself, when I first met my son's mother in the 60s, she was a real nice girl because of my lifestyle. She ended up doing time. My
Wow.
son ended up doing time.
Mm.
And my grandson right now is doing time. And that's not in across the tracks. You're hearing where the grandfather went to college, his son went to college, their children went. This is the narrative that's on the other side. So our subculture, and I've seen it so many times where whole families are locked up.
Right.
The mother in one prison, the father, the sister, brother. I mean, out of maybe 6 people in one family. Yeah. And people don't understand that concept. They would almost question it. How does this happen?
Absolutely.
But some of the conditions that we come underneath of, you know, those are some of the things that, and it's ordinary. It's almost a normality in a lot of cases.
It is. It definitely is. Well, I raised 2 sons, so I'm raising 2 sons by myself. One of them is 18. He graduates this year. I'm so happy I don't know what to do. But
Congratulations.
And
Great job.
And let me say this. And I changed the narrative because when I told a reporter this one time, he said, "Oh, what a generational curse." I said, "No, you're not cursed. That's a generational habit. So
absolutely.
we need to change. I don't accept us being cursed.
Absolutely.
I said it's a generational habit."
Let me get that word out my mouth the other way.
Right. And you have to narrative. And
I'm not even going to say that word again.
Right. And so raising my sons, I changed the narrative. Like you said, success begot success. And so it was important for me to change who I was so that they can become someone. Like people will tell me, like, you can't raise 2 sons, like they're going to be soft, and all the stuff that they said, not true, So my son is graduating this year from high school, and everybody's making a big deal out of the fact that he doesn't want to have a party. Like he doesn't want to do all of the extra stuff. And because he said graduation is not the goal. It's not the goal. And that's what I've taught him, that graduating from high school is not the goal. School, middle school, elementary school, high school is repetition. As long as you repeat, you're going to be fine. You're going to get through that. That's not the goal. Life is the goal. The goal is to be better, to get a career, to do better, to stay out of prison, to pay attention, to listen, to not get programmed and caught up in all of the other stuff. And so, like people, they really giving me a hard time because in their mind, graduation is the goal. But in my son's mind, I was going to graduate from high school anyway. But that is something that is something that you instill into your children. There are no generational curse. There are generational habits. And so in order for you to break the habit, you have to do something different. You have to go beyond. And so I changed my life about 15 years ago. I'm a different person and a completely different person than what I was. And I try to be the best that I can be. I'm not a perfect mom, but at the same time, I knew that I had to be different because it was important for my sons to see a different life. My older son, he got 2 separate moms. So he got, he got the transitioning mom, And my younger son, he got the changed mom. So, he thinks that life is full of fluff and it's not. But he thinks like he's living in a gated community. He does not. But he got a different mom than what my older son got. So I understand that. I appreciate you gentlemen for being on the show. Is there anything else that you all would like to share before we get out of here? Because I know y'all got some big things happening and I know y'all got to make some moves.
No, when you brought something to my mind when I was in the 12-step program and I celebrated my first year. I told my mother about the celebration and for her to come She said, "Boy, I'm not coming." She said, "You doing what you were supposed to be doing way back then."
Right.
But that's what you actually saying, like, and that's what I had gotten away from, and it all came down to my story is the same as the prodigal son. You know, when I left my consciousness and went out in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and when I came back to my consciousness, you know, this is how the movie came. You know, I took care of my wife. Matter of fact, you know, I was her caretaker for years until she made her transition.
Right.
And but just to see that, you know, I was there for almost every one of my family members as a caretaker. And I just look back and see the life that I lived, being in the position that I'm put in, that I have a responsibility to give it back every chance that I get, you know. And, you know, I know I was in an organization they call a Junior JCs. And at the end of each meeting, they used to say, service to humanity is the best work of life.
Absolutely.
And I just want to say that, you know, for those of anybody who has been incarcerated, anybody who knows someone that's incarcerated, and you think that what they tell you that you can't make it is true, you're looking at two people right here that's evidence that that's not true. Nobody. I went to jail 30 something times. I ain't gonna lie, 30 something times. I went to prison 5 times because I wasn't that smart enough to get up out that circle, that cycle of drug and addiction and everything that I was in. It took that for me. It took for me to face 2 life sentences plus 30 years for me to get myself together and wound up with 10 years. I served my 10-year sentence and I came out of there a different person. And I'm telling you, if you have served your time and you already committed to being a better person, I'm going to ask you to do one thing and one thing only. Leave each day better than you found it. In a year's time, you'll look back and see that you're 365 times better than you've ever been. Thank you.
That was powerful. Leave each day better than you found it. I don't think they caught that. Y'all dropped so many gems in this show. I was like, I don't even know what to do. It was so many gems. I appreciate like the knowledge that you all provided, not only to the audience, but the knowledge to me, because I'm always soaking in some knowledge from someone. And it's always good to speak to someone who's been in the space that you've never been in before. You know, so tomorrow the boys and we will be at Enoch, so we'll be covering a little bit of the footage for y'all, just taking some pictures and getting a little video to post and let everybody know. But we will be there. You know, one of the boys is 6'3", the other one's 6'1". So I'll be there.
Wow.
Looking, for
Boys, you mean the young men. The young men.
You know, I gotta start calling them young men because to me they are still babies. You know, like every time I look at them, I
always be your baby, huh?
Baby.
So let me get my information out to anyone that want to reach me.
Yes,
they can reach me. They can hashtag Eugene Brown. Just about everything will come up, but they can reach me with my email. It's easy: chessmaneugene@gmail.com.
Right.
And anyone want to reach me, I'm an inspirational speaker, and all my information is right on my website.
Absolutely. And Dr. Crabb, where can they reach you?
They can always reach us at thedrproject.com. That's THEDRproject.com. If anyone is interested in facilitating a meeting, a 12-step program meeting specifically designed for ex-convicts, it's called the Ex-Cons Matters Meetings. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Come on, we couldn't see it too well.
You can contact us at standforfreedomtv.com. That's standforfreedomtv.com. The first one is THEDRproject.com, thedrproject.com.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy and just what you brought to the show today. Please, people, make sure you reach out to them. Don't forget, always tap into 101.5 Philly Vibe every Tuesday at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. If you did not catch the show, make sure you tap into all the platforms. I still post on my podcast platforms, even though I have the show, but make sure you tap in. Send this show to somebody who really needs it, and who, can grow from this. Also, they will be at Enoch Davis Center tomorrow at what time?
At 5 p.m. Doors open at 5 p.m. Please pre-register. If you don't register, you will have to wait until the people who are registered come in first, because the food is going to be awesome and nobody's going to be having any leftovers. So please pre-register.
All right, gentlemen. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. And you all have a wonderful day. As always, people, love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning into the show.